My name is Leo Vance, and I'm afraid of two things in this world. The first is a rainy day. The second is Clara done smiling at me. She's a legend on campus. Looks like everyone's first love, acts like a bona fide outlaw. The first time we met, she stole the ice-cold Coke I just bought. She was completely shameless about it, too. "I'm saving you from sugar crash," she said. "You'll thank me later." After that, the whole school knew she was after me. She'd bring me breakfast, save me a seat in lectures, and hang around outside the guys' dorm, feeding the campus cats. My friends were all jealous, telling me I'd hit the jackpot. Only I knew the truth. The way she looked at me, it wasn't like she'd found a crush. It was like she'd finally found an enemy she'd been hunting for years. One, the air conditioning in the library was cranked way too high. I've been staring at the same page for 10 minutes straight. In my peripheral vision, the girl in the white dress in the third row stood up again. This was the fourth time we'd had a chance encounter this week. She was clutching two art history books thick enough to be used as weapons. She ambled slowly over to the empty seat diagonally across from me. When she set the books down, she made sure to slam the corners against the edge of the table. Bang! The sound jolted a guy sleeping in the front row awake. But she just casually tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, completely unfazed. The ends of her hair brushed against the shoulder of the person next to her, and the faint scent of freesia drifted over. I looked down and turned a page, but the paper reflected the image of her glancing at me, then quickly looking away. "Excuse me," she said suddenly. Her finger tapped on the notebook open on my table. "You wrote down the wrong formula." Her nails were neatly trimmed, a healthy, natural pink. I stared at the equation for cantilever beam stress. The denominator was indeed off. "Thanks," I said, picking up my pen to fix it. But her hand shot out and pressed down on the tip. "You have to buy me a drink for that." Her eyes curved into crescents. "The coffee shop downstairs has a new mango matcha latte. Light on the syrup." I pulled my pen back. Not thirsty. She didn't seem annoyed. She just rested her chin on her hand. "Then I'll buy you one. You've been studying for hours. You need a break." Without waiting for an answer, she casually closed my notebook. There was no name on the cover, but she read it out loud anyway, perfectly. Leo Vance. She savored the sound. "That's a great name. Sounds like a tragic character from some indie movie who dies in the final act." I finally looked at her properly. Her skin was pale, and her eyelashes were so long they seemed to catch the light. She definitely looked like the girl from the photo that went viral on the campus Instagram page. Clara Dunn, from the Fine Arts Department. "Have you been investigating me?" She laughed, her teeth gently catching her lower lip. "Your roommate, Kevin. He's from my hometown. His phone's lock screen is a picture of you passing out during freshman orientation. It's only your side profile, though." I gripped my pen tighter. When I got back, Kevin was going to owe me pizza for a month. 2, it started to rain. I stood at the library entrance, digging through my backpack. I could have sworn I'd packed an umbrella. Now all I could find was half a pack of tissues and an old apple core. Clara popped up behind me, holding a black umbrella that was clearly too big for her. "Forgot your umbrella." The delight in her voice was impossible to hide. I stared at the water pouring in sheets from the eaves. "I'll wait for it to stop. This looks like it's set in for the night." She angled the umbrella toward me. "Want me to walk you to your dorm? It's out of your way." The Fine Arts Department was on East Campus. I was on North. The entire Central Quad was between us. She was already stepping out into the rain, turning back with water droplets clinging to the ends of her hair. "I've been poaching your Wi-Fi hotspot for weeks. Consider this payback." The rain was starting to soak through her shirt, and I could vaguely make out the sharp lines of her shoulder blades. I looked away. "The password is 1234567 8. You don't owe me anything." She blinked, standing her ground for a moment. Then she suddenly shoved the umbrella into my hand and sprinted out into the downpour. "Then you can borrow it," she yelled over her shoulder. "Bring it back to the Fine Arts building tomorrow, room 302. Her figure quickly vanished into the gray mist, like a bird caught in a storm. I stood there, holding the umbrella she'd left me. The metal handle was still warm from her hand. Engraved on it was a small, elegant C. 3. Kevin was hugging my pillow and refusing to let go. "Leo, my man, my brother," he pleaded. "Just give me a sign sketch from her. Clara, my goddess, is having her solo exhibition next month." I pried his fingers off. "When did she become your goddess?" He conspiratorially opened his phone's photo gallery, which was filled with pictures of Clara from every conceivable angle. In class, painting, even getting sloppy joes in the cafeteria. Look at this one. He zoomed in on a photo of her back in the art studio. On the easel was an unfinished portrait of a man. It was just an outline, but the line of the shoulders was identical to the jacket I'd worn yesterday. She's never painted a live model before. Kevin was so excited he nearly fell off his bunk. Dude, you are so on her radar. I lay back down and put in my earbuds. The dorm walls were so thin I could hear the guys next door yelling at their video game. A notification popped up, an Instagram follow request from Clara Dunn. Her profile picture was a mirror selfie of her ballet flats, a silver butterfly charm clipped to the laces. The message request had only 4 words. You still have my umbrella. I locked my phone. 3 minutes later, another message. It's going to be cold tomorrow. Don't forget a jacket. I rolled over to face the wall. A patch of peeling paint looked just like her silhouette when she was soaked by the rain. For room 302 of the Fine Arts, building smelled like a complex cocktail of turpentine, acrylic paint, and something sweet like burnt sugar. Clara was sitting on the floor, dabbing at a canvas, her hands smeared with shades of blue and green. When she saw me, she waved her palette knife in the air. "You're here," she chirped, as if we'd had plans all along. I placed her neatly folded umbrella by the door. "Thanks." I was about to leave when she called out, "Wait." She jumped up and ran to a table by the window, picking up a small cardboard box of cookies. Several of them were burnt. "A peace offering," she said, her eyes sparkling. "For stealing your Coke that one time." "My bad. I didn't take them." "You don't have to." She kept holding the box out, the back of her hand still stained with cobalt blue. "Just try one." It took me 3 tries to get them right. A few students walked by outside, peering curiously into the room. She suddenly stood on her toes and leaned in close. "Or would you rather I grab you a Coke? I can go right now." Her breath, smelling faintly of mint, brushed against my chin. I took half a step back and picked up one of the less burnt cookies, putting it in my mouth. It was too sweet, and the sugar wasn't mixed in properly. "So?" she asked, clutching the hem of her shirt in anticipation. "It's fine," I said, swallowing the grainy crystals. She cheered and shoved the entire box into my hands. "They're all yours. Next time I'll make them less sweet for you." As if she'd already decided there would be a next time. 5 Clara showed up in the back row on my mandatory engineering lecture. The professor was at the front, demonstrating a stress analysis diagram. She tiptoed over to the empty seat beside me and set down a notebook with a cartoon cat on the cover. "Just auditing," she whispered. "My department head said Professor Miller is an amazing lecturer." My pen didn't stop moving as I highlighted my notes. "This is a core class for civil engineering majors. A fine arts student won't get it." She propped her chin on her hand and watched me write. "Your handwriting is really nice. It's like every letter was carved with a scalpel." Suddenly, the professor called out, "The young lady in the back row, in the dress. Can you tell me how to calculate the fixed end moment for a cantilever beam?" The entire class turned to look at her. She stood up slowly, her fingers discreetly tugging on my sleeve. I scribbled the formula on a scrap of paper and slid it over. She didn't even look at it. "Professor," she announced, her voice clear and steady. "I'm actually just here because I'm trying to win over Leo Vance. I'm not really here for the lecture." A wave of laughter nearly blew the roof off the lecture hall. Professor Miller's glasses slid down his nose. "And how's that going for you?" "Not great yet," she replied breezily, "but I'm working on it." I tore the page with the formula into pieces and stuffed it into my pencil case. After she sat down, she started tugging on my sleeve again. "You helped me just now. That means you feel bad for me." I pulled my arm away. "I was afraid you were holding up the class." She grinned, her eyes narrowing into happy slits. She started sketching in her notebook. As the bell rang, she pushed it in front of me. It was a profile sketch of me, frowning. Next to it, she'd written, "Cute even when he's annoyed." The sloppy joes in the cafeteria were so salty, they were bitter. Kevin slammed his tray down. "Leo, you're a terrible friend. You went to a class with the goddess and didn't even tell me." I picked a piece of stray onion out of my food. "She followed me there." He poked his mashed potatoes with a pained expression. "Do you have any idea how many guys would kill to have lunch with her?" Last week, the captain of the basketball team waited outside the Fine Arts building for 3 hours with a bouquet of flowers. She didn't even open the window. I pushed the lone chicken wing from my tray onto his. Shut up. He mumbled through a mouthful of chicken. Seriously, man. If you're not into her, you should just tell her. Claire acts all tough, but she's actually really sensitive. The stray cat she'd been feeding for 5 years died last year, and she just sat by the wall where it used to sunbathe all night long. I put down my fork. Just then, Clara was standing in the aisle with her tray, scanning the room. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, and she hurried over, her hair smelling faintly of the cafeteria's disinfectant spray. "I've been looking for you," she said, sliding naturally into the seat next to me. Her tray held only steamed broccoli and a cup of butternut squash soup. "On a diet?" I asked without thinking. She turned to me, beaming. "You're worried about me." My fork clinked against the side of my tray. "I don't get this homework Professor Miller assigned," she said, sliding a printed worksheet toward me. "Can you show me how to do it?" It was a basic structural analysis problem. I took out a pen and started writing out the steps in the blank space. She leaned in close, her hair brushing against my wrist several times. "Why do you use this point here?" she asked, her finger pointing to a spot on the moment diagram. "It's the reaction force at the fixed support," I explained, circling the key variable. She suddenly went quiet. I looked up and found her staring at my hand. "Leo," she said softly, "you have a mole in the webbing of your thumb. It looks like a chocolate sprinkle." I pulled my hand back. "Just read the textbook solution." She carefully folded the worksheet and put it in her pocket. "This is for you," she said, pushing the soup in front of me. "Your lips are chapped. Drink this." Then she got up and rushed off, her dress brushing against the leg of the table as she left. My mom showed up at my dorm out of the blue, standing downstairs and wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. She was clutching a follow-up report from the hospital. "The doctor said I'll need another surgery," she whispered. The cuffs of her coat were frayed. Ever since my dad's accident on the construction site last year, she had these sudden breakdowns. I took the report from her, folded it, and put it in my pocket. "I'll figure out the money." She gripped my wrist tightly. "Leo, please don't drop out of school. I could pick up a few more housekeeping jobs." As I helped her onto the bus, I transferred my latest paycheck from a freelance translation job into her account. I watched until the bus disappeared around the corner. When I turned around, I saw Clara standing in front of the campus convenience store, holding 2 cups of instant ramen. One of them was the spicy beef flavor I always got. "For you," she said, holding out the cup. The 2-for-1 deal was ending. I didn't take it. "You heard everything." She looked down, scraping at the plastic wrap on the cup with her thumbnail. "I'm really good at keeping secrets, and I won't ask any questions." The evening wind pressed her dress against her legs, making her look like a bird with rain-soaked wings. I took the ramen. "Stop following me." She jogged to keep up with me. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was waiting for the taquitos on the roller grill. I stopped at the corner of my dorm building. She stopped short, nearly running into my back. "Clara Dunn," I said, using her full name for the first time. She stood up straight. "Present. What do you want from me?" Her eyes seemed to shine even brighter under the lamplight. "I like your handwriting. I like the mole on your hand. I like that you never have an umbrella when it rains. I like that, even when you're rejecting someone, you can't bring yourself to be mean." The rim of the ramen cup was starting to dent under her grip. "Is that a good enough reason?" I turned and swiped my card to get into the building. The glass door reflected her image, standing there for a long time before slowly crouching down to pick up a receipt the wind had blown away. I took on 3 tutoring jobs. On weekends, it was a 4-hour round trip on the subway. When I got back to my dorm one night, there was a new thermos on my desk. Kevin was playing games with his headphones on and mouthed that Clara had dropped it off. I opened it. Inside was still warm chicken noodle soup. Tucked underneath was a small note with a drawing of a rabbit holding a soup bowl. "A balanced diet is important. From your secret guardian angel." I put the lid back on, walked it over to her dorm, left it with the front desk, and sent her a picture. "Don't send any more." She replied instantly. "Okay." For the next week, she actually disappeared. The girl in the 3rd row of the library was replaced by a freshman with glasses. No one tried to grab the seat next to me in the cafeteria. The black umbrella was still hanging from my bedpost. Kevin couldn't take it anymore. "Did you reject Clara?" I turned a page in my book. "Just like you wanted." He let out a groan and fell backward onto his bed. "My heart is broken." Late that night, my phone vibrated. Clara had posted a news story on Instagram. It was a photo of a canvas that had been violently scraped and gouged with a palette knife. The caption was, "Blocked." I stared at it for a long time, until the screen went dark. The civil engineering department mixer was mandatory, and I'd been dragged along to fill a spot. The host was leading a game of truth or dare. When the beer bottle spun and pointed at me, the whole room erupted. Leo has to pick one. It has to be a dare. I reach for my glass. I'll drink. A sophomore girl snatched the glass away. No way. The dare is you have to video call the first person in your contacts and tell them you miss them. A couple of guys held me down while she unlocked my phone. My most recent contact was the editor who'd been chasing me for a translation draft. She scrolled up. Clara's chat was buried deep down in the list. The last message was mine. "Don't send any more." Someone gasped. "Whoa, it's really Clara Dunn." The girl grabbed my phone and hit the video call button. It rang for 5 seconds before she picked up. On the screen, Clara was wearing a paint-splattered apron, the background a late-night art studio. She looked confused. "Leo." The room exploded with cheers and whistles. The girl who had my phone shouted, "He misses you." Clara just stared quietly at the camera, or more accurately, at the pathetic, cornered version of me. Let him say it himself. The room went silent. I took my phone back and stepped out into the hallway. The night air helped clear some of the booze from my head. She was still on the line, waiting. I could hear the soft, rhythmic scrape of a brush on canvas. "They're just messing around," I said. She made a small sound of acknowledgement. "Have you been drinking?" "A little." "Does your stomach hurt?" "No." In the background, I heard one of her classmates yell, "Clara, we're out of cobalt blue over here." She called back a quick, "one SEC," then turned her attention back to me. "Okay, well, I have to get back to work." Just before she hung up, she stopped. "Leo." Her voice was quiet. "You've never called me before." The line went dead. I ran into the basketball player at the subway station, the tall guy who had supposedly waited 3 hours for Clara with a bouquet of flowers. He blocked my path at the turnstile. "You're Leo Vance." His friends, all carrying gym bags, started to circle around. "Why has Clara been ignoring everyone lately?" One of them demanded. "Did you say something to her?" I stepped around them to scan my transit pass. "I have no idea." He grabbed a strap on my backpack. "She used to come watch my practice every week. Now she won't even answer my texts. A broke bookworm like you doesn't deserve her." I turned to face him. "Are you done?" He faltered. I pulled my backpack strap out of his hand. "Whatever's going on between you two has nothing to do with me." As I walked away, he yelled after me, "Her sketchbook is filled with drawings of you. She even captured the exact way you frown when you're drinking water." The rush hour crowd swallowed me up, and his words sank like a stone. I opened the envelope with my cash payment from the tutoring job. It wasn't nearly enough to cover the surgery. A pop-up ad for a payday loan appeared on my phone screen, and I paused for a moment before closing it. When I got back to campus, I saw Clara sitting on a bench outside my dorm. Several huge, wrapped canvases were leaning against the bench next to her. She stood up when she saw me. "Just passing through," she said, gesturing to the canvases. "Had to drop off these pieces for a project. I'm leaving right now." I noticed a scabbed-over cut on the back of her hand, like she'd been scratched by the wooden frame of a canvas. "What happened to your hand?" She quickly hid it behind her back. "It's nothing." We both fell silent. The campus lampposts flickered on, startling a cat sleeping in the bushes. "Leo," she began, her voice barely a whisper, "if I said I could help you." "Don't." I cut her off. She nodded, then bent down to pick up the canvases, stumbling under their weight. I took the 2 heaviest ones from her. "What floor?" Her eyes lit up. "Second, right by the stairs." After I helped her lean the canvases against the wall, I turned to leave. She suddenly held out a folded ticket. "It's for my solo show. It opens tomorrow." She paused. "If you don't come, I'll just have to crash your study sessions in the library every single day." On the back of the ticket was a pencil sketch of a boy's profile, head bent over a book. In a webbing of his thumb, she'd carefully drawn a small mole. I went to the art gallery. The main hall was filled with her paintings, most of them bursting with vibrant, intense colors I'd never seen her use before. Then, I turned a corner and saw it, a piece titled Library Afternoon. It was me, sitting at a corral by the window, reading a book. A sliver of sunlight rested on my fingertips. She had even captured the slight curl on the corner of the page I'd been reading. Clara, dressed in a simple, formal dress, was giving a tour to a small group. She saw me, and her explanation faltered mid-sentence. Her fingers tightened around her notes. I stood in front of that painting for a long time, until the other visitors started to drift away. She walked over and stood beside me. "Does it look like you?" she asked. "Yeah. I stayed up for 3 nights painting it." "Why?" She turned to look at me, her eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings under the gallery lights. "Because you look so alone." We stood side by side, looking at the fictional version of myself on the canvas. "Leo," she said softly, "you don't have to accept me, but can you please just not push me away?" The gallery's air conditioning was too cold. A layer of goosebumps rose on her bare arms. I took off my jacket and handed it to her. "Put this on." She clutched it to her chest and smiled. "Is this a sign we're a thing now?" "It's rent," I said, nodding toward the painting, "for using my likeness." She followed me to the bus stop. "Should I paint you playing basketball next?" "I don't play basketball." "What about eating? Or in class? Or sleeping?" "Clara, done." "Here, be quiet." "Okay." She made a motion of zipping her lips, but her eyes were curved into happy little moons. My mom's surgery was moved up. I finished signing the consent forms in the hospital corridor, my bank account balance now down to double digits. The nurse's voice calling for payment felt like it was coming from underwater. I went to the restroom and splashed cold water on my face. The man in the mirror had dark circles under his eyes. When I got back to the room, my mom was asleep, still clutching an academic award I'd won in elementary school. My phone vibrated. It was a picture from Clara of her setting up her gallery. "A collector is coming to see the show today. Guess who it is?" I turned off the screen. 2 minutes later, another message. "Is everything okay on your end?" My thumb hovered over the keyboard for a long time. I finally typed back, "Yeah." That night, while I was staying with my mom at the hospital, I got a notification of a wire transfer. A large sum of money, enough to cover the entire surgery, had been deposited from an unknown account. The memo line read, "Advance on painting purchase." I sat bolt upright and called Clara. She answered immediately, the background noise of a loud party buzzing through the phone. "Did you get it?" Her voice was slurred with a bit of a drunken buzz. "Someone bought the library afternoon piece. They paid in full." "Cancel it," I said. She paused. "What?" "Cancel the sale." My own voice was as cold as ice. "I'll transfer the money back to you tomorrow." There was a long silence on her end. The party noise faded as if she'd stepped away. "Do you think I'm pitying you?" Her breathing was sharp and clear over the phone. "Leo," she said, articulating each word slowly and carefully. "The painting was listed for $30,000. The collector is a professor from the Art Institute. He said your eyes had something he's been looking for his whole life." I tightened my grip on the cold metal armrest of the hospital chair. "What was it?" "He said it was—" She took a soft breath, a pride that refuses to drown. A loud cheer erupted from the party in the background. She laughed weakly. "They wanted to cut the cake. Just keep the money, and if it still bothers you, you could just consider a loan." Before the call ended, I said, almost too quietly to hear, "Thank you." There was a 2-second pause. "What did you say?" "The signal's bad. I'm hanging up." The sun was bright the day my mom was discharged. I was helping her walk past the osmanthus trees near the hospital entrance when she suddenly asked, "That nice girl who visits all the time, she didn't come today?" I paused. "Who?" "The one with the big eyes. Her hair is about this long." She gestured to her shoulders. "She always brought homemade soup. Said you were too skinny and needed to eat more." The plastic grocery bag was digging into my palm. "When did she come?" "Whenever you were off getting tests done." She said she was a student volunteer from your university. I got my mom settled in her apartment and went back out to the bus stop. I opened my phone. Clara's chat was buried deep in my message history. Her last message was a picture of the sky she'd sent that morning. Perfect weather for a hospital discharge. I tapped on the text box, typed something, deleted it, and typed again. Finally, I sent, "Can you send me the recipe for that soup?" She replied instantly with a series of voice messages. I played them, and it was her, reading from a cookbook, her voice clear and bright. "First, you have to blanch the pork ribs." In the background, A friend of hers laughed. Clara, are you trying to become a professional chef now? I heard her shoo them away. Get out, get out. The last message was a text. I can teach you how to make it next time. The sweet scent of osmanthus drifted on the breeze. I replied, okay.